just trying to beat the odds. I'm just trying to beat the odds. Yeah.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Odds. And as you guys know, we've been talking about faith and just family, sports, business, mindset. But today, man, we have a special guest with us featuring Mr. Jeremiah Jackson. And he is an amazing, incredible athlete, professional baseball player, just signed with the Baltimore Orioles. And we can't stress this enough of how amazing of a player he is, and he was literally the number one in all of high school. Whenever I saw him playing, he was just absolutely killing it. Played on USA team, has played professionally for years and years, and he's about to have a breakout year. But as always, Trey, good to see you again. Let's love the fit today.
Appreciate it.
Good. But JJ, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the episode. How you
Yeah,
feeling?
I feel good. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm excited to do this.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you taking some time. I know we go way back, man, and just being professional players and coming from the same city, the 251 Mobile, right? By the way, we just had a huge snowstorm. I don't know if you've seen all the pictures and all the videos, but how's Arizona treating you? How's the family? Tell me a little bit about how things have been going out there, brother.
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm out here just training in Arizona. Just trying to get ready for the season. Stay in shape, get better, improve, get my body get ready to play a long season. Family's doing good. Most of them are back home in Mobile. I got a daughter, so she's with her mom right now in Minnesota, and we'll all get back together in spring training. But yeah, just took some time, come out here, get ready. Get back in the groove of being a professional and just working every day. Just trying to improve, perfect the craft as much as possible for the upcoming season. But yeah, I just signed with Baltimore a couple of months ago, so this will be my first year with Baltimore. I'm excited to get going. It's a great organization. I'm very honored to be a part of it, and I'm just excited for what's ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, speaking of being a girl dad, what's that being like? Being away from your daughter, training, doing all that. I know how it is traveling and minor league grind and spring training. Like I get all that. Man, how is being a girl dad and just minor league grind? What's that like?
No, it's awesome. It's definitely, with all the baseball and everything, this has been the biggest blessing for sure is my daughter. And no, it's been good. Obviously it sucks being away from her right now, but it's kind of that sacrifice I have to make a little bit right now just so I can, provide later down the road, be the best that I can be, for this upcoming season. Like I said, I'll be back with them in spring training. Well, yeah, I mean, it's been good. It's been I don't want to say it's been a challenge because it's just been nothing but blessings, but it's definitely different. You play for a completely different reason now. You just go about everything with a completely different mindset, perspective, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, it's done nothing but help. It's made me a better person, a better player, and just moving ahead. It just helps me separate, being a person first and a father, and then also being a baseball player. As you know how it is. Sometimes it's easy to get caught up in the baseball life and just, oh, I'm a baseball player, but you got to remember you're still a person first, and you got to be able to separate the two. And having her there with me has definitely helped me with that a lot. And just kind of, you go home, good game, bad game, it doesn't really matter because you're going to be happy. You got your little girl running up to you, giving you a hug. And it's things like that it keeps you going every day. When it gets tough, it makes it a lot easier to push through and kind of go through those harder times. But it's definitely been a blessing for sure.
Yeah. Hey, so Jeremiah, so I want to touch on something you said. So you're still playing. Like that's a blessing. That's awesome, man. You're still playing. For me and Caleb, that day came where it's like, hey, your time's up. It's over. And I want to touch on what you said. And you said, it's very easy to get wrapped up in that baseball identity, like, hey, I'm a baseball player. And a lot of guys, when they get done playing and they can no longer, baseball's done, and it's like, man, that was my personality. That was who I was. I was a baseball player. Now I'm not doing that anymore. A lot of guys struggle when those days are over and they're looking to transition into something else. So what kind of mindset? Obviously, you're still playing, so it's going to be a little bit different. But with what you're trying to accomplish and do, how are you staying on top of your mindset to where you can continue to play as long as possible? But then how are you looking to transition to something else? Because our playing times are so short, and then you got the rest of your life. Like, let's say you're blessed to play to your 40. I mean,
Right.
you still got another 40, 50 years of your life. Like, what would you try to say your mindset is going to be as you're even looking down the line and making that transition?
He's gonna play till 90, Trey. Come on, he's gonna play forever.
He's gonna be that person. Yeah, he's gonna be he's gonna be the Tom Brady of baseball.
Hopefully. No, I
Brett
mean,
Favre.
that's a great question. Really, it's just as I've gotten older, it's become a lot more, obvious that there is still a whole world out there that's not baseball. It's a lot easier as a kid to just get set on, baseball, football, basketball, whatever it is. But as you get older, you start to realize, okay, like it's more than life than just the sport. And I think for me, just I've played with a lot of really good people. I've met a bunch of wonderful people, and I feel like with the baseball community, you're able to meet people who can help you and benefit you down the road even after baseball.
Yeah.
And just like how we're here talking today, like if it wasn't for baseball, I probably wouldn't be on the podcast. But since baseball is something that we've all done and it relates us together, I'm here, right? So it's just kind of more so what I've learned is meet as many people as you can, make friends, treat everybody with respect, because you never know, what's going to happen, and like you said, like you don't know it's your last day until it's your last day, right? So the way I just kind of look at it from a baseball point of view is just going to grind, keep playing, keep loving the game, try to take it day by day, don't take anything for granted. I was a free agent this offseason, which basically means, like, I mean, y'all know, but just for the viewers and everything, it basically means, you play from you get drafted or you sign, and then you have X amount of years on your contract until your contract's up, right? So basically, I play with the Angels, got drafted by the Angels, traded to the Mets in 23, and then essentially released from the Mets this past season, and then was in free agency and was able to talk to other teams, kind of coordinate this and that. And then I ended up coming on a deal with Baltimore, which, I mean, even there, like, it's all about connections. Having connections, knowing certain people, realizing that when you're playing, you're not playing just for the team that you're playing for. You're also playing for 29 other organizations. Just because when it comes time to trades, free agency, this, that, and the third, like all this stuff, like you have to show up for other teams so that now they know what they're looking for. And honestly, just kind of in life outside of the baseball world, it's kind of similar. Throughout my process, I've met people with it, whether it be from like endorsement deals to, coaching, hitting coaches, batting cages, certain places. You meet a lot of people, and it's easy as a professional to kind of think that you're this and that, yada yada. But it helps just to remember you're a person. You're still a person. When you move forward, when you're talking to people who aren't playing baseball, like you still, you're a person first before baseball. And I think
Yeah.
that definitely helped me with just like relationships when it comes to people on and off the field. That I think moving forward, you just kind of hope that you're doing the right things to stay in the game. But there's gonna come a day where you're not in the game. And I've had players who have played, had really good careers. Next, they're coaching in professional baseball. They're coaching, a travel ball team, like a young travel ball team, and there's just so many opportunities and things to do, and you just kind of have to keep an open mind and remember that you're a person first.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that's so good. You over here spitting some knowledge, bro. How old are you again?
I'll be 25 in March.
Golly, dude. So time flies. Trey, I don't think you know this, but and for those of you that are watching, like Me and JJ, we go way back. He was literally on my travel team that I was coaching and helping my dad coach. And, of course, we're like super pumped when we had him on the team. Got a stud shortstop. We had an awesome little travel team down in South Alabama. And a lot of those guys went on to play and do well and do some cool things. But of course, JJ, he, just standout talent, super humble. You've always been that way. You've kind of been like a silent assassin, honestly. You've just been that like just steady, like you just put your head down, you go to work, you make it happen. And the reason, you're at where you're at right now, let's talk a little bit about that. Like I know your upbringing has a lot to do with like where you are now. Like I know for me, my childhood kind of shaped the direction of where I was going. You've had some solid people in your life, but also growing up, in Mobile, kind of your situation. Can you talk a little bit about just, maybe some of the challenges or even maybe some of the struggles as you grew up as to maybe why you push so hard and you've gotten to where you are, where we're talking about beating the odds. I feel like you had a lot of odds that were stacked against you when you were younger. Um, and the fact that you're at where you are now, you've overcome a lot. So can you speak a little bit to how you've been able to beat those odds and like, what was it for you that has driven you and your
Uh,
upbringing?
yeah, no, for sure. I have a big family, a lot of love in the family, close family. I kind of grew up with three other siblings, single mom. She was young when she had me, so she definitely was still growing. She says all the time like she was maturing and growing with us. And that's kind of been how it is. And at a young age, I kind of learned, how to be a man, I guess. More so that not everything is going to be easy. Things aren't just going to get handed to you. If you want something, you got to work for it. And I think that definitely has shaped me into where I am now and who I am now, is just realizing that life isn't a bunch of handouts. Obviously you're gonna get blessed, and God's gonna take care of you throughout the way, and there's gonna be certain things that happen outside of your control, that's makes it easier or makes it even harder for you. And one thing that's always helped is just always keeping my eyes on God and realizing that
Yep.
without him none of it's possible anyways. But yeah, I mean, and that's my childhood was great. I had a really good childhood. I had what I needed. I had a house. I had food. So like, obviously, things weren't always how you would like them to be. But at the end of the day, as I've grown, you start to realize like the important things. Like having people around you who care for you, having people around you that love you. And that's really kind of driven me to be, the best version of myself I could possibly be. And I mean, even now, just having a daughter, like your perspective changes so much. You don't really feel like, oh, poor me. It's like, no, this may not work out for me, and there's a reason why. Um, and even kind of just to touch on like my professional experience, it hasn't really been the easiest. I mean, I've been traded, been released, I've been re-signed. I was even with the Angels. I put up some really really good numbers. Had good seasons.
Yeah, I
Had a
was
couple.
gonna say I mean, you had that one year where you hit like 23 jacks. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
uh, you led a lot of categories.
Yeah, no, I mean,
you set that. Yeah, you set the
Set a
Pioneer
record.
the
Yeah.
record that year, right? In
yeah,
2019.
2019. So my first year, I was drafted in 18. Went on, played. I think it was like 50 games, maybe. Just kind of get your foot into pro ball, kind of figure out how it is and what to expect going forward. But yeah, 2018, I had a pretty decent rookie showing. I got called up to advanced rookie, which isn't even a thing anymore. But
Mhm.
I did that. It was a little shaky. Definitely didn't succeed as much as I would have liked to. But yeah, moving into that 2019 spring training, I actually had a pretty good spring, and then I ended up getting held back in extended spring training. And for if you
Extended is horrible.
yeah, But
Extended is where careers go to die.
definitely
Ask me how I know.
make um extended spring training, just like for if you don't know what it is, for the people listening, it's just, you get to spring training, and at the time it wasn't big league spring training, so I think I got there in like end of February, early March, and the season usually starts like Aprilish. And usually what will happen is if you break with a team, you leave at the beginning of April. But if you don't, you get held back in extended spring training, which goes on like another month and a half, which is, I mean, you're playing in the desert heat at midday every single day. Like it's not fun. It's definitely
Facing Dominicans that are throwing 98, not knowing where it's going.
I have no idea. Yeah, I mean,
Wait, that's not fun.
no, for people at the time, one of my craziest at bats that I'll never forget in professional baseball is I got 97 above my head, 97 behind me, 98 in the left-hander batter's box, and then 3 sliders just dotted on the outside corner that I mean, walked back to the dugout. Like it was just, that's when I knew like, okay, this is a different ball game. Like this is professional baseball, and this is the low level of professional baseball.
That's the wild, wild west of professional baseball.
Literally.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, even to that, like you learn so much in certain places like that, and you can go at it 2 different ways. You can look at it like, oh, this sucks. Like, why am I having to go through this? Or you can look at it like, you know what, it sucks, but like I'm gonna go through this and I'm gonna get better from it. And I think that's what kind of helped me in 19 was kind of switching my mindset to, instead of being upset about being here, like let's see what we can get out of being here. Let's see what I do to get better, so that way I'm not back here. And it kind of lit a fire under me, kind of pissed me off a little bit, but sometimes that's what you need. You need a little bit of push. You can't get too comfortable, and I think that 2019 was a big year for me. And even to that, there were still a lot of ups and downs. Like I think and to mind you, like I think it's a 65 game season, so it's a short season. Like it's a shorter season. I think at the halfway point, I had 14 or 15 homers, and I was batting like 270. Like I was doing well. I was expecting to call up at any night. There was one game where we had the front office there, the whole entire front office there. And usually, I mean, you know what that means. Like when you have front office at the games, somebody's about to get called up. Like somebody's getting promoted to the next level. And they were there for I think 2 games, and I had like a homer in the first game that they were there, and then the next game I had 3 homers in one game. And I mean, I was 100% prepared to get called up right afterwards. Walked into the locker room, expecting a call up, and they shook my hand. They said, "Keep working hard. We'll see you next time." And I was just like, okay, like,
jeez,
this sucks, but it's just kind of part of the game. So 2019, I ended up staying in that rookie league the whole entire season. And some upsides to that, I ended up setting the record for homers in a short season, which I think that next season they cut it because of COVID. So I think that stands. So I think I'll hold that record, which is a good thing.
That's good.
But yeah, I mean, it's just professional baseball is not really what everybody thinks it is. It's definitely a lot of
business.
It's business. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's politics, but there's some politics to it. There's a lot of things have to go right in the certain timings. Like the timing has to be there. And even to touch on that, like 2019 set the record, have a good season, the All-Star Game MVP, no call up, and then 2020 comes, and then we have COVID. So it's
season.
So nothing happens. So it's almost like that 2019 season. There was no momentum going into 2022 or 2020 anymore because there was no season. So I hung around Mobile for a little while, just kind of trained, kind of just, chill, didn't really do too much, honestly. And then I get called up to go to the alternate site, which was basically like, you had the big leagues playing, and then you had like the alternate site, which was like, these are where we're going to call guys up from. I mean, I wasn't going to get called up to the big leagues at the time. I think I was I just turned 20 with only rookie ball experience. So like not enough experience to get caught up. So I definitely knew that that wasn't the case to get caught up. But went there, learned a lot, made some really good friends, just became more of a pro, got to be around double A, triple A, big league guys at the young age, which has helped a lot. Just kind of being around them and seeing how they operate and kind of how it is at the upper levels. Um, and then 2021 came around, got hurt, missed most of that season. 2022 came around, first I think second game of the season. So I was in double A, got hurt, had a rehab for 6 weeks, came back, was going crazy, like really, really good. I think I was batting around 300 with nine homers in like the first month and a half I was back. So I was playing well, and just had a bad week, just kind of like let it downfall from there. Ended up batting like 215 with only like 15 homers that year. So it wasn't. I kind of let a lot of things kind of creep into my head, things that you couldn't control, which I mean kind of goes into everything. Like you gotta control. But yeah, and then 2023 came, and then I got traded, and then 24 was with the Mets, and then had an okay year. I mean, I was second in the league with homers, led the team in homers and RBIs, but didn't get called up to AAA, so I was basically in AA for 3 straight years. Released and then signed with the Orioles. So I mean, it's definitely been a career. Like there's been a lot of ups and downs, a lot of good things, a lot of things that nobody wanted to deal with, but it's just that's the game, and that's just kind of how it is. And you got to kind of have that mindset of like, who cares what's happening? Like I'm going to be who I am and just continue to work hard.
Yeah. And you've mentioned mindset a few times. And so even in your young career, I mean, shoot, man, you're still young. In your young career, you've had some ups and downs, you've had some success, you've had some spots where you want to be better. But speaking on the mindset part, if you could talk to yourself at a high school, all right, and if you could completely reset what you got going on, all right, if you had to start 2018 over, getting drafted, what would you tell yourself 6 years ago when it comes to mindset, and then how to prep for what you've been through, and not knowing what you're going to be through, but how to have that mindset going into pro ball? What you just said is completely different than what most people think it is.
Right. Yeah. No, I would tell myself, um, don't get comfortable anywhere.
Mm.
Don't think that you're doing enough. And I mean, and just work your butt off like it's the last day every single game. And I mean, that's kind of really how you have to go after it. I wouldn't necessarily, change anything, but I would have just kind of not let things out of my control, take control of me in a negative way. And really, like, I mean, mindset. It's all about the mind. It's all about mindset. Whatever you got going on over here is what your body's going to do and what you're going to believe. So yeah, I mean, I would just told myself like, hey, like, stay confident, work hard, keep your head down. Don't get all into all the stuff that's going on here and here. Like, keep your head, like, keep the work going. Like, act like you're, that 12-year-old kid again who's not in pro ball, who's trying to get there, and just kind of have fun, enjoy it, but also realize like you got to work. It gets harder every level. When you get caught up, it's going to be harder. Like it's going to be the step from low A to double A. It's a big step.
It's big.
It's a big step, and it's like, yo, you got to be prepared, and you got to be better than you were before. All right, so like that's kind of basically what I would tell myself is, hey, just keep working. You could have a 4-for-4 game tonight. Flush it. Like, get ready for the next game. Don't dwell on what happened last night, because good or bad, you got to perform the next day. You got to go at it the next day and do what you got to do, because they're looking at what you're doing right now, not what you did last year, yesterday, whatever the case is. They're looking at what you're doing right this second and how you're performing. You go 4-for-4 one night. What's that next at bat going to look like your next day? And that's kind of where, people, need to kind of, baseball players, football, any athletes, it's not about what you just did. It's about what you're going to continue to do going forward. And that's what And that really kind of, it makes it a lot more interesting. It makes it kind of every day is a new day, and it's kind of you have to treat it like that.
Yeah, that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, hey man, yesterday's home runs doesn't win today's ball games. You got to
Right.
have such a short memory, not just in baseball. Obviously, that's what we're talking about, but in life.
Yeah.
What you like, and I like what you said that when you said I wouldn't change anything, because it's the journey that builds and creates the man you are today, and that's why you have that wisdom.
Right, exactly. I mean, just like they're saying, hindsight's 2020. And that's just you got to realize, like, hey, like what I do today, I got to live with tomorrow. So how am I going to attack today? How am I going to do today? What information am I going to gather in these 6 years of professional baseball that's going to help me for my next, however long I'm playing, and really, really utilizing what you've learned and what you've seen over the years.
Absolutely.
Totally. Dude, you're spitting some fire today. I wanted to ask you too. I know that with you going to a new team, so you've been with three different teams. What is what does it say about like an organization? Because I know there's different like managers, leaders, teammates. Like from your experience, when you go to a new team, what is it like being the new guy? Because I only played with one team, right? I only played with the Cardinals, and I mean, I played with a couple of different, or I played with one indie ball team. But we're talking about like multiple teams. You have these travelers that play for different teams in the big leagues. What is that experience like going into a new clubhouse, new locker room? Like what is that like?
Different. It's not as welcoming as you would hope.
Mm.
I mean, it's kind of like it's like that new school feel where you just go to a new school and you're the new kid. There's a fine line between overstepping and like settling in. You can't go in there and not talk to anybody and be like yada yada yada, but you also can't go in there trying to, oh hey, look at me, this and that, yada. You kind of have to just go in there, learn the vibe, learn the team. What are they doing? How do they act? Like, what is their culture? Because at the end of the day, like, it's different. When I got traded to the Mets, they were in a playoff push. They had just won like, I don't know, 8 of their last 10. So like they were pushing, and the flip side of that, when we had new players come in, it's like, how are they acting? Like, are they overstepping? Are they, gelling with the team properly? I mean, it's a big thing. Like, locker room stuff is big. Like, you got to be able to gel with your teammates. You got to be able to not step on toes, but also not be too reserved to where you're not getting yourself out there and learning about the team and what they kind of what they like. But no, I mean, I would say that first like couple weeks was an adjustment, but there were some great guys over there with the Mets that it became easier, and it was a different locker room, but the same things that go on. It's a bunch of guys playing football. It's the same stuff that you see here. It's gonna be it's really the same. That's kind of what I figured is like you have different personalities, but you'll start to see similar personalities than in the locker room that you were just in. And yeah, I
Yeah,
mean but it's good though. It's good to have that fresh start to kind of just whatever you might have felt insecure, like you weren't really doing great at here. You go into a brand new place and you have nothing but like positive things to move forward with because now there's no preconceived like ideas of who you are and this and that. You just kind of go into the new locker room. You're the new kid. You're the new person, and you set the tone for who you are. And that's kind of the fun thing about it, really.
it's funny. I've said this to the boys, and see if I'm off base. Y'all let me know, right? So every team has the same type of personalities, obviously different people, but you're going to have your clowns, you're going to have your serious guys, you're going to have your casual guys. And I've said this to them because I noticed it in my playing time, whether I was in high school, college. Every team has players on the team that you look at and you're like, how are you here? How did you make it here? And then you have guys on the team that play the roles, and then you have your superstars. In the minors, you both play in the minors in pro ball. Did you trying to look back on the teams you've been on? Do you kind of feel that same way? There's that kind of echelon a part of the team of like you have your pro guys that are really good looking to be called up. You got your role players that you can count on, but they're middle of the road, they're solid. And then you got guys on the team, you're like, how are you on this roster? Like, I don't get it. Or is that just me?
No, I mean hey, I mean you kind of hit it on. Like there's definitely, and I guess more so like the better way to answer that question is like not everybody's there for the same reason, right? Not everybody's journey has been the same, right? And you could have some guys who they only wanted to make it to pro ball, right? So they're happy to be there,
Yep.
right? You have a lot of guys who have been at the same level for multiple years and they're not so happy to be there, right? And then you also have those some guys who just don't care where they are, like they're here to play baseball and be their best self every day, and that's kind of I think it's all based off of where you come from, what your mindset is, and what you are looking to get out of your experience in pro ball. And that's, I mean, I'll let Caleb kind of go off of that and what his experience has been, because I'm interested to hear that too.
Yeah, man. Well, I will say that there's some guys I played with, and I love all my teammates, man, and any of my teammates that's watching this, I love all of you. But I will say some of them, I was like, how are they starting and I'm not tonight?
Yeah,
Right? That's a question, right? But then again, it's like y- you get more opportunities, right? And JJ, you probably even experienced this yourself, being a second rounder. Like you've had a pretty long career compared to most guys, obviously coming out of high school. But I will say the high school the high school draft picks, they get a little bit longer opportunity just because they got paid a little bit more, the higher round. And so I saw that more than anything where I was like, man, this guy's going to get however many opportunities he's going to get because they invested money in him, like, right? But
and that's the
it's the way it is, right? And it's to be expected. So that, like me, I wasn't really like a super high round draft pick. I mean, I had 6-figure plus signing bonus, made as just as much as like a third or fourth round pick, but I wasn't like this super high round draft pick coming out of D2. Put up some big numbers. Was hitter of the year. I had a killer regional, and one game away from going to the World Series. But I came in as a college guy where I have some high school guys that have been there for a couple years, played some rookie ball, and guess what? They have priority over me. Where I'm like, I'm a better hitter than you. I'm a better fielder than you. I know the game better than you. My instincts are better than you. Why does this guy keep getting more at bats than me?
yeah. No, I
Right? So
mean it's
you have
definitely
that friction too, right, JJ? And you probably are on the other side of that, where
right,
people are probably looking at you saying that about you. I don't, you know what I mean? But I don't
right.
know.
To that, to that, as I've played more, it's flipped. Like I was the guy who's I was gonna get the at bats, regardless. I could go 0 for 30, and I was at shortstop the very next day playing again and again, play for another 30 at bats and then some. And being more so now looked as like a veteran, I guess, in minor leagues. Like, I'm 7 years in now. Like, it's different. You start to see, and I'm at that age, and I'm at the part of my career now where you got to play to play. Like, if you're gonna play, you better make the most of what you have, because, like you said, there's gonna be that young guy that they just drafted and gave $3 million to, who's gonna get the at bats, and they're trying to fast track him because it's gonna make them look really bad if they just paid a guy $4 million, 5, 6, $7 million, and he can't get past double A.
Right.
Right. And like you were saying earlier, like if it's an investment, if they put more stock into this guy, he's gonna have a lot more like room for failure. That's just how it is. If you got somebody who, you know, as a late round pick who didn't get much signing, but I mean, they don't they treat them like that. Like they treat them like they just gave him 25,000, and they just gave him a plane ticket. And the crazy thing about it is those are the most hungry guys. Guys who have something to prove. And that's something I would also, kind of touching back to what you asked. Like I would go back and tell myself, hey, like this is kind of what I mean by like don't get comfortable, right? Like I might have just got paid well as a second rounder out of high school, had good seasons, but there's guys who don't play every day who are eating and fighting to get out there on the field. And when they get out there, they usually produce because their mindset's completely different than
Yep.
somebody who plays every single day. And that's kind of like the stuff behind professional baseball that you don't really see. Like, you know, there's a lot of guys in the big leagues now who have had great careers who were 30th round picks, 20th round picks. Like, they're not, you know, there's a lot of guys who, you know, get drafted late and they may not get that much playing time, but when they do, they're prepared, they're ready to go because they've been sitting down and they've been waiting to play, you know.
Yeah.
And as a guy who plays every day, it's easy to be like, I got to play again today. Like, my legs hurt. Went 0 for 5 last night. Like, I don't want to play again. But like, that's the craziest thing about pro ball. And to kind of touch on what Caleb was saying, like, it's not always about talent. It's not about talent. It's not about who's the best. It's not like college baseball where you got to win now, and you're getting the best lineup. You know, it's in professional baseball, especially the lower levels.
Yeah.
They're putting the guys out there who got paid, the guys who are supposed to be out there, as far as like, oh, he's a first rounder, he's a second rounder, he's a third rounder. Like, he's gonna get at bats, even if he's hitting 200. Like, he's gonna keep playing.
How do you handle that? Not animosity, because once again, late round pick, you're a high round pick, and this is a cool conversation. But how do you handle that from being a high round draft pick? You know, signed for a lot of money. By the way, we need to talk about making sure your family's good to go with your money, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things, how do you handle some of the animosity? Maybe can you feel that from guys like me that maybe was I'm just being as transparent. Like, I would love to hear your perspective from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you know, to kind of touch back on what I was saying when we opened up. Like, at the end of the day, you know, we're sitting here talking about, we're labeling guys as draft picks, this number, that number. We're humans. We're still people, right? And something that's always helped is just treat this guy like you treat everybody else.
Yeah.
Don't, just because you're a first round pick doesn't mean that you're any better than this person down here. And you don't know everybody's situation. You don't know why everybody's here. Their road to being where they're at. I tell people this all the time. I could be a first round pick, and then this guy could be, you know, the 30th, the very, very last pick. But if we're on the same level as far as like A ball, double A ball, like, what's the difference? You know, like, we're at the same spot. You know, this guy got way less or drafted way later, and he's in the same locker room as me. So like, you're gonna go through times where you're playing with people and players from all over, all different type of, you know, journeys that got them where they are. But don't ever think that you're better than somebody, because the second you do, like, you're gonna get humbled. Like, you know how it is. It's a humbling game. Like, it's not. This game isn't. It's not like, you know, I'm not bashing on any other sports, but it's not like basketball, football, or some of these other sports where if you're just more athletic than everybody, you're gonna succeed, right? Like baseball, you gotta be.
Completely different animal.
It's a completely different animal. I mean, it's you could have 30 at bats right now and do everything right, hit the ball on the barrel every single time, and you could go 0 for 30,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's just kind of where. I mean, you see it. You know, there's guys who come in who are full of themselves, who think that their crap doesn't stink, and it's just like, you know.
Call them out. Let's tag them in the we'll tag them and no, we'll
Right?
tag everybody. Everybody listen.
Jeez.
We're gonna tag you. All the people that are full of themselves. Like, we're gonna JJ's
You need to be
calling everybody
humbled.
out. Hey, this
Right.
is the JJ Rose Beat the Odds episode where
The craziest part, like, some guys have to have that in order to play well. You know, some people, you know, they perform better when they feel that way about themselves. And I tell people all the time, like, when I'm on the field, I'm the best one on the field, no matter what. Like, that's my mindset. That's how you have to go about it. You know, and that's just kind of, you know, it's the animal, it's a different beast. Like, it's not, you know, this game's tough. It'll chew you up and spit you back out. And next thing, like, it's just, you know, I've seen it happen. Some really, really, really good players not get a chance to play and they're not playing anymore, and guys who got a chance and they're in the big leagues, and it's just you have to be. And I'll tell you too, like a lot of the really good ones they're really good people.
Yeah.
And that's where it kind of goes back to being a person first. Like, be a good person. Like, be a good person. Carry yourself properly. Don't think that you're better than anybody else. When you get on the field and you're in between the lines, different story. If you need to be a little arrogant or a little hothead in order to get you to that next level, it's a game. That's kind of you gotta come with your best version, right? But you got to know how to take it on the field and off the field. Like, you got to know how to be a baseball player when you're on the field, and then a human being, a person when you're off the field. And that's kind of what helps with just dealing with a bunch of personalities and a bunch of people from a different journeys to get to where you're at. Is treat everybody with the same respect that you would want to be treated, or you would treat the very first pick. Like, I think that a lot of it has to do with like just being a good person first.
Yeah. Well, I talked to my boys about that. It's like, you have kids on your team, like they might be good, but are they a good teammate? Like, who are they when they're outside the lines? Do you even want to be around them? Because that's also a cancer for the culture of the team, anyways. And people get traded real quick if you're a cancer team because you're not bigger than the organization.
Right.
And so I see a lot of that stuff, especially so with my kids playing, select ball and seeing this mess of stuff. It's everywhere. And so trying to
Crazy travel ball dad that hits jumps on the fence and
no.
at the umpires, aren't you?
No, I'm that guy. Like if my kid's coming up, I try to go down the line to try to I'll try to get like a little video just so I can show him his swing a little bit, or I'll go down to the fence on the outside fence because I'm like I don't want to be in the I've caught myself, right. So I've caught myself being in the moment, and it's like, dude, these are 10-year-olds. You need to back up. You need to back up. Like I try to be that perspective because some of the, I mean, we got some guys that man, they'll get after some umpires or they'll start chirping. I'm like, hey man, like this is little league. This ain't even real little league. It's 10-year. Like, little league when we were growing, it was 11, 12. Like this ain't even real little league, man. Like we got to back up. And even in practice, I have to take a step back sometimes when I'm talking to my boys because I'm treating them like they're high school kids and they're 10, 11 years old. And I got to take that step back because it's really hard when your time's over and you're no longer playing and you're trying to coach, train, or mentor, your kids or other kids, and you don't get to put the bat in your hands. You don't get to throw the glove on and go make plays. So you're trying to instill the mindset, the work ethic for them for what their goals may be. And so for you, if you had to talk to little leaguers and for I know we've fit on mindset a few times, but what would you tell them at the plate as a mindset to have in little league, going into middle school, high school, with aspirations to play MLB? Like, what would you be like? Hey, these are the top 3 mindsets or top 3 things you should focus on that will take you to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. So it's funny you asked that because my uncle has a son, so my little cousin who's on a like 11-year-old team, and I went out a couple weeks ago and actually talked to him and kind of talked about this with him. But yeah, no. So hitting wise, anyways, I would definitely say like, and obviously it might be a little hard depending on the ages, but learn what you're really good at. Learn what pitches and locations you do your most damage, and look for that in the box. Right? Like if I'm a guy who hits the high ball really well, I have no business swinging at low pitches. And once you can kind of at a young age learn your strengths, then you can kind of work on what you need to work on, improve on what you need to improve, right? But if you kind of go at it with oh, I just had a good hit, like I don't remember anything about that at bat, like you're not doing yourself any favors, right? Like really focus in and lock in on, okay, I've had 10 at bats this weekend. My 5 really good hits were on pitches low in the zone, right? So if I'm a 10-year-old kid and I hit that low pitch well and I have a hard time with a high pitch, maybe I go in the cage and work on the high pitch. But when it comes game time, I don't need to be swinging at that high pitch.
Right.
that's something that, you even see at the big league level. You have to know your strengths. You got to know what you do well, where you can produce. It's almost like a kid who has no business being at third base, right? And all of a sudden he's trying to make the biggest, tryout of his life, and he's going to go to third base and play at third when he knows he's not very good at third, right? Like let's at a young age, let's find what we're really good at, nail that, and then when we get in the box, that's the only thing we're worried about, right? And that's going to create the zone for being this big, right? To now you're looking for one pitch in one spot, right? And for some guys it could be low, some guys it could be high, some guys could be in, it could be out. But I would say, like, at a young age, if you can figure out what you do really, really well in games, when you go into the game, that should be the only thing you're looking for, right? When you're in the cage and you're working and you're training, okay, maybe I don't hit the outside pitch very well in the game. Let's work on the outside pitch today, right? But if I go into the game and I know that I don't hit the outside pitch very well, I need to be looking to bring that pitch closer to me. I need that ball to start closer to me, because this is where I do the most damage, right? I don't need to go chasing for pitches away from me that I haven't had much success with, because then, you could swing at the pitch outside, right? And if you would have taken that pitch, the next pitch could have been the perfect pitch for you to hit.
Yeah.
And hitting wise, that's something that I definitely tell kids that I work with now, because I kind of do some lessons back in Huntsville when I was out there. But like, learn what you're good at. If you're good at driving the ball the other way, don't try to pull the ball, because what you're good at is going that way.
Yep.
Let whatever else happens with the pull side happen. And that's how I am. Like, I find myself when I'm hitting the ball well in season, I'm driving everything to right center, to right center to center, right? I'm not trying to pull everything. And when I'm going bad, it's because I'm trying to pull everything. And it's really, really
Or you
important.
hit one, you swing one, you hit one the left field long ball, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'm about to go on a home run tear, and you start trying to pull everything, but it just so happened that you turned on one and got a good swing, and then it's like, oh, here we go, we're about to go swing for the fences now, rather than just yeah, it's so
Yeah,
true.
it's not your strengths. I try to tell the kids, it's like, hey, put your swing on your pitch.
Right.
Keep it simple. Like, and it's so frustrating. You get up there the first pitch, and then and I tell them, I'm like, cut the plate in half. We're looking inside, and then they first pitch, they swing at an outside pitch, and it's a rollover. And I'm like, I'm gonna pull my hair out. Oh wait, that's why I don't have hair, because I have kids. No, it's a lot of fun.
It doesn't change. Like, as they get older, and for all the kids, players who are listening to this, like, the game's gonna get harder, which means that you have to be better. You have to be, and it's not better physically. For me, it's more so mental. Like, is my approach matching up to what I do well?
Right.
Is my approach at the plate, is it gonna help me, execute this? If I have a man on second base with no outs and I hit a ground ball to third baseman, like, what are we doing? Like, and something is that's the game, and that's what they value at these higher levels is, do you understand the situation? If I got a guy on second base with no outs, I need to get him to third base with one out or 0 outs, right? So anything to the right side of second base on the ground or low and hard is going to do a job. It might be out. I might have just grounded out, but all of a sudden the guy behind me is up to the plate now with 1 out with a man on third base. All he has to do is fly. We score. That could be the difference in a win, a loss, and even to take it to a bigger, $100,000, a couple $1,000,000. Like, when you get into the big leagues, like, it's. I just kind of talked to one of my buddies who was going through arbitration, and he was kind of explaining, like, they look at a lot of things when it comes to.
Every point counts. I mean, every run, RBI, home run, like all those things. Yeah.
How can you produce for your team? Like, how? Yes, everybody wants to hit a homer, hit a double, hit a hard single, steal a base, but like, are we
Playing baseball?
playing baseball, right? Like, do we have the situational hitting down? Like, do we understand the game to where we know what needs to happen in this certain scenario? And that's And that's something that I think that it's touched on for young kids, but I think that it needs to be more of a point in especially in like high school, because high school baseball is when it gets it gets pretty serious. And
Pretty competitive. See, I didn't learn any of that stuff until college. I thought I knew baseball. I got to college, and luckily I played under Coach Dennis. And I'll tell you what, man, that man knows baseball. And you calculate your batting average, but then your productive at bats batting average, because like you're not going to get a hit 10 out of 10 times, but what are you doing when you make outs? Like that's cool, you're hitting 400, but what are you doing those other 6 times? You flying out with a man on third with an infield fly, or you can't get a bunt down, or moving that runner. And so like I start understanding the game. I know it's not played a ton anymore. It seems like it's not played a ton anymore, like the small ball. But man, that was my bread and butter. And when I learned that and understood it, the baseball IQ, what you were talking about, you start to see separations with guys as well.
and it makes the game easier. If
Yes.
if I know the situation when I get up to the plate, like, okay, there's a man on third base with one out, right? So I need to hit something deep in the air. I've taken so much pressure off myself because now I'm not worried about getting a hit.
Yeah.
Right? I'm more concerned about, okay, like, I need to get a pitch elevated, something that I can get in the air with decent barrel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not, oh, like, I got to get a base hit. I got to get a base hit. I got to hit. I got to crush this ball. It's like, no, like, I can have an approach. I can have a plan. I can make the game a little bit easier just by understanding the situation and what I need to do. And it's probably a lot easier to hit a ground ball to second base than it is to hit a double in the gap. If
Yep.
you situation, I got a man on second base with no outs. We need him to third. Like, we got to third.
Yeah,
Whether
because then he scores on a pass ball, he scores on a bloop.
our win probability goes up 20% just by getting him over, right?
Yep.
And as an offer in the stat sheet on your stats, but if you're going to be a good teammate and a good team player, your coach is going to pick you up. Your manager is going to jump up and down. He's going to pat you on he's going to be like, way to do the job.
Yeah, well, they recognize that, but and here's the other thing too. Like your team's going to recognize as well, because when you're up, you're always doing something positive. Like you're not striking out or popping up in big. You're not rolling in double plays, those type of things. And middle of the year, end of the year, they might look at your stats and be like, he only hit 275.
Right.
I swear he was always on base, or I swear he was always getting base hits or doing something. Because even when you move a runner, you're doing your job, and so it even gives that perception of better than what the stat sheets are going to show, because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right. And nowadays they have numbers that they have metrics.
I bet they have stats for everything.
Like stuff that I don't even know at this point. Like they have stats for it. Like next thing you know, like it's crazy the knowledge and the numbers that they have now. But it's also, I mean, and I think with the game and how hard it is these days, that small ball is going to have to come back around. You're going to have to know how to get the job done, because it's not easy to hit doubles in the gap and hit homers when guys are throwing 97-mile-an-hour sinkers with a 93-mile-an-hour cutter. Like it's tough.
I can't even imagine. I told Caleb in an earlier podcast, I think the fastest I ever saw was like 90, 96, 97. That's the fastest I'd ever seen. And dude, I didn't see it.
I think we see that every day now.
Yeah, it's not when you're watching ball now. It's like even in college, you're like, how many 95, 96 guys plus do they have? It used to be like there was one or two.
Yeah, it's a different game. It's definitely you gotta, all the kids who are listening out there, like, you gotta do the fundamentals right. You gotta play good defense, make the plays. Base running is key. Make sure you're running the base as well. Take the extra base when you can. Don't be there's a difference between being aggressive and reckless, right? We don't want to be aggressive. We want to get an extra base when we can.
That's good.
Help us score, right? It's going to help the team win. And like in today's games where, obviously you have your games where it gets 7, 8, 9, 10 runs, but you see a lot of three. I mean, it's always been this way, but pitchers are so good nowadays. I mean, I got a buddy who was in the big leagues, and he was like, dude, I would hit balls on the barrel and be like, oh, that's a double. And then the center fielder's tracking.
Yeah.
And your good swing, grab your glove. But like, that's just it's the game. It's definitely
The speed is picked up. Everyone's bigger, stronger, faster.
yeah, it's going to continue. Like the kids nowadays are just. We actually went to it was a dream series out here in Arizona, and geez, I mean those guys were grown men out there, and these are high schoolers.
I tell my kids at 10, I'm like, listen, guys, I remember ball kind of when I was 10. I was like, I wouldn't be on this travel team. I wouldn't make this travel team. And I watched their swings, what they do. Like my parents will come, my dad will be at some games and stuff, and he's like, man, he's got a good. I'm like, it's something about lefties. They just smooth. But I tell them all the time, like, guys, even when they have bad games, I'm like, you're so much better than what I was. Like, quit whining. Just go out there and have fun.
Right.
Like, are you having fun and are you progressing? Right.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's all. That's all
Hey,
I care. I could care less.
I tell my son I'm better than him. I don't know about you. May tell your son, you may tell your kids that they're better than you. I tell him I'm better than him.
We play many games. I never let them win. I always win. But
Like,
when they have a bad game, man, I got to
always
pick
be
them up.
better than you. But no, he's a little stud, man. He's doing good, man. This right here is what it's all about. And JJ, man, I appreciate you just really sharing just all the insight, your wealth of knowledge, mindset. I mean, you're coming up for a big year this year, and going
Absolutely.
into a new organization. It's going to be exciting, and I know you're gonna do big things, and we're all rooting for you, man. We want you to go out there and kill it and go have fun. And dude, last question before we let you go. Big goals for the year, right? We're starting out a new year. I know that you got that stir crazy getting ready for spring training. It's like I can't wait to get out there and do my thing. And but what are you hoping to get out of this season, this year? Some big goals. What are you shooting for? What are you going? Obviously, big leagues, of course. But what are some personal goals, some personal stats? I always went in with like my numbers, like what do I want to hit, what do I want to knock out. What are some of your big goals this year?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, a lot of what we've talked about, just the numbers are good, and I want to put up numbers, but like I kind of like to look more so at, this year going into the season, like I want to get better at certain things. And with the Orioles, I mean, they're a top organization. Their player development is phenomenal. And like I'm really looking forward to getting with those guys. And I've had good seasons. I've put up some good numbers, and it's just I know that I'm going to get better, and I'm going to continue to put up better numbers just by being with Baltimore and with their resources and player development. But something I've really wanted to do. I mean, obviously, get my big league debut, and get up there and stay there.
I get a ticket. Can we get a ticket if you make it to the debut? When you make it to the debut, how about that?
When you make it, yeah.
Yeah, hit me up for sure.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, I mean, really just becoming, I kind of keep it simple with the goals. Like I always want to just become more of a complete player every year. Defensively, just continue to make the routine plays routinely, be in the right positions, be in the right spots. Always realizing I got somewhere to be on every play. Base running, my goal, I want 30 bags this year. I want to help the team win with my base running. That's kind of a big thing for me, is just getting on base. And when I'm on base, being the best base runner that I can be.
I never would have guessed you would have said you want to swipe 30 bags this year. That's big.
Yeah, I had 27 the year before last. Last year was a down year. I wasn't on base much, but yeah, I mean, 27 is my most right now in a season, so I'm gonna try to get up to 30. Same with homers. I would like to hit 30 homers this year.
Heck yeah.
30-30, all right.
That's kind of my goal this year. I mean, it's a
30-30, 300.
Yeah, that would work. That would. It's definitely a big goal, but I feel like at this point in my career, like why not? You might as well just go out there and continue to work hard and just try to push myself more than I've pushed myself before. Like I said, I was released and then picked up in free agency, so I didn't know really what my future was going to hold as far as baseball, and just kind of the mindset has switched just by being, not being as comfortable going into the offseason as I have before, knowing that I'll be on a team. But yeah, I just, I try not to talk too much about numbers in the off season because I just want to not put that pressure on myself. But like, I always want to be better than the season before, right? And I always just kind of want to continue to learn and get better with everything that I do, whether it be defense, base running, and hitting. And shout out to the Orioles. Like, I'm extremely excited to get with them and working with them because I've heard nothing but great things about their player development. Just what they can do for players. You see these teams nowadays, like the Mets, Dodgers, all these big market teams paying all these guys hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars to play. Like Baltimore, they kind of go out in a different approach. They kind of like to develop their players and their hitters and get them to the big leagues and let them play. I mean, look at some of the guys like Gunnar, a bunch of really everybody in their lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Adley went up pretty quick. Gunnar went up pretty quick. Holiday went up pretty quick. I mean, all those guys.
Too many good players in there to name and not leave one out. But like, they're just their approach as far as Baltimore is they want to develop their players. They have the tools and they've done it. If you look just like the guys you just mentioned, like
yep.
Have put up some good numbers in the big leagues, and they were just in AA not that long ago, AAA not that long ago. Sure. That's kind of what really got me turned to Baltimore is just their play development and what they can do for me, and they've expressed that they just want to help me get better and continue to grow as a player, and for me that's kind of where I felt like it was best for me to be, and I feel like God wanted me to be there, and I'm excited. Like I'm excited for what the future holds and how the season's going to go and what I can accomplish this year.
Yeah, man, we're excited for you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, man, this has been incredible. Hopefully everybody watching has had an amazing time. JJ, we appreciate you. And of course, Trey, we kind of appreciate you sometimes, but
always a pleasure to be here.
You're just here. No, I'm just kidding.
That was fun, guys.
It was fun. JJ, appreciate you. And make sure you guys go follow him. Go check him out. JJ, go ahead and shout out your Instagram handle. How can they follow you again? We'll tag you, but
yeah, I think it's Jeremiah Jackson 002. I haven't really been too big on social media lately, but I'm pretty sure it's Jeremiah Jackson 002.
All right, awesome. Well, guys, keep up with him during the season. He's going to go kill it. And for all of you watching, as always, go beat the odds.